What's the difference between a budget and a forecast? And why do you need both? Hey, I'm Nadi, Elias, and this is the Daily Espresso. As an accountant who's worked with hundreds of businesses over my career, I've noticed that businesses who fail or get very close to failing are the ones that have no clarity or vision about the financial future of their business. On the other hand, the ones that have done well have done so partly because of their approach to getting clarity around the road ahead of them in business. Simply put, they're planning out their profit, loss, and cash flows to look for the good and bad signs with more than enough time to make changes. Now, how do they do this for financial clarity? They run budgets and forecasts. Let's get into why. So let's talk about budgets. Now, we're referring to an example of a budget. There's one on page 66 of my book, Count More Beans. Now, if you flick to it, you can see it here on screen now. It's not the sexiest thing you've ever seen, but it's incredibly powerful. Now, you may have come across the need to do one of these in your business plan, or if a bank's required you to give something to them as part of some financing requirements. Now, it's not just by coincidence that a bank needs one of these. It's not just to tick a box. The whole point of all of this is they need to understand what the future looks like for them to invest into your business by giving you some money. Now, flip that for a second and use it to your advantage by actually having financial clarity about your business and your future and using it for the power of you being able to achieve success. So looking at this budget, it's really simply laid out. There's a column for each month. They normally go for 12 months. You can go beyond that if you like. And essentially it's what you'd pull out of something called a profit and loss statement, which is one of the key financial reports of a business that you should be able to pull out quite simply out of your cloud accounting software, that runs through income, which is normally sales, and expenses. Now, you're going to look at all types of expenses that go on your profit and loss, and they're going to go into a budget. So a good way of looking at a budget is essentially a profit and loss expanded out over 12 months, but based on a lot of assumptions, a lot of planning, a lot of things that are going to happen. Now, let's flick to an example of a cash flow forecast, and there's actually one of these in my book, Count More Beans, on page 68. Now, again, if to the untrained eye, it looks really similar to a budget, without doubt. The difference with this, though, is the key word of the cash. And what it's doing is not just showing the forecast or a budget of profit or loss, but it's actually showing real money coming in, real money going out, again, based on assumptions and estimates over the next 12 months. It'll show different things though, and if you go back to my example of Kate's coffee carts from a previous Daily Espresso, you'll notice there is a big difference between profit and cash, and this is why we have budgets which look at profit or loss, and a cash flow forecast which looks at the cash impact of everything. Now, typically, I would put a lot more emphasis into the cash flow forecast if there was only going to be one that I did, but you kind of need two together because once you've put a budget together, the forecast is quite easy to do. It's also really important to note the closing bank balance or the closing cash balance every month with a cash flow forecast. And something to really look out for is where things don't look great. You've heard the term in the red. Well, that's normally where the number goes negative. It shows up as red, and you want to look for those instances. A clear and functioning forecast of cash flow can let you dive into your blue sky planning. And what does this mean if you're just a cafe? Well, imagine for a moment if you could get a visual of the financial result of your plan, your project, campaign, or next move. That's what a budget will do to show you if you're going to make more or less profit and more or less loss. A cash flow forecast will show you if you're going to run out of cash or have enough to take advantage of that next opportunity. Being able to simulate reality before it happens is that crystal ball you need to help you make decisions in your business with plenty of time to make them. Let's face it, these reports don't look interesting as your cafe, without doubt. But they have a real importance in being able to meet your vision and create a better future for both you and your business. And simply put, Without this financial clarity, you won't be able to reach your goals, grow, expand, etc. As a final takeaway, try not to get too bogged down preparing a budget and cash flow forecast yourself. You'll have a lot of input in the process, but I recommend you get a qualified accountant to help you put these together. Not so much from a data entry point, but more from an analytical angle, especially when you're blue sky planning. As an accountant and an owner of a cafe, this is my domain. I live and breathe this stuff, and what I see as a no-brainer is something others don't even consider. Take my word for it. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Budgets and forecasts are a big part of planning, so you've got to incorporate them in that. If you like what you've seen, please like, share, and subscribe to get more Daily Espressos. I'm Nadi Elias. This is a Daily Espresso. Get planning, bring in some budgets and forecasts, and get cracking.